informed that it must be regarded as one of the most veritable, reputable magnum opuses of occult books, which to some people remains completely inconsequential because they're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. But for which authorities of rabbinical writers is cited, it is to these authors that we owe priceless treasures, which innumerable charlatans like Antonio have actually tried to counterfeit over time. And he really did succeed during his time frame. But the copy made that Antonio made use in preparing his edition was transcribed from the genuine writings of the mighty actual King Solomon, which were obtained by chance. And these were books that weren't found previously. So this isn't the entirety of King Solomon's writings. This is only part of it with a lot of other stuff. This book is the real one is, I would say, about 30, 40 pounds. It's pretty big and heavy. Has a lot of stuff in it, a lot of illustrations and things. But when you wonder who all these people were, who were they? Why did they do this? Or what is it? So there it is. No question that the Grand Grimoire is actually a book of black magic. You know why? The nature of the works, which they openly announce that they are evil, and which grimoires of this nature do come with a warning. It's like, no, stop, don't, or oh no, stop, don't stop. But it's more like an air of caution. It's like, if you go any further, this is the reaction that's going to happen, right? Books of this nature, you get so far, there you go. So it's talking about how salacious and how diabolical, and the term objectionable works. And this term was actually used by somebody in the 18th century that was actually reviewing this grimoire and didn't even read it in its entirety because it was so, what's the word I'm looking for? Shocking to them. Entirely shocking to them that they just couldn't read through it. They just needed to go through and say, yes, the book is this and that. But with all these open announcements that they're evil and teaching evil under the pretense of excellence. So by doing this deed, you're going to get this thing. So you're going to go grab the gold ring, but at this price. Like I said before, there's your price. You may be paid cash, but you're going to be paying more than that, right? The noticeable point, okay, in regards to this Grand Grimoire, the other works of its class, and the white rituals which also are entailed, is that the diabolism of this confessedly diabolical book is often so exceedingly thin, while the angelical element in the processes are so often in this, and so perilously on the site. Oh my gosh. When they talk about angelic, like this is another thing that I trip on, that it is so perilously satanic. It's like, cue the Omen music. You're talking about demons and angels and white magic all at the same ball of wax, but you're also asking to do what in this grimoire? So it just kind of takes that one thing and then takes a giant sledgehammer to that mirror of, oh yeah, there's good in it, but at this price, smack, right? So it's all these angelical elements and borders which are teetering very much so into the blacker than the blackest black, and So, in the first part of this, which I'm going to mention of this Grand Grimoire, like the Grimorium Varium, which is not the same book, is simply a process for the evocation of evil spirits to obtain enforced surrender of hidden treasures. So the thing that you want, basically. On the second part, the magician or the whoever practitioner, whoever you're calling yourself, um, is certainly expected to give himself body and soul to the demon who serves him up this magic treasure. Meanwhile, there can be no hesitation in admitting that this creates a sharp distinction not only between the Grand Grimoire and all the composite rituals, but also between the Grand Grimoire and the other liturgies of black magic. Which is like, eh? So everything in this is worded and is worded is a subterfuge for black magic. There is no white magic in this book. It's all entirely black velvet oozing. You're going to do this. And if you do this, you realize what's going to happen. You're going to get what you want, but the price is pretty steep, let's just say. So, and in reality, a lot of people think that you can't actually give anything to another entity, such as a demon or an angel, or make offerings or things like that. Well, guess what? Yeah, I've seen it. It's happened. Otherwise, we wouldn't have books of this caliber, things of that sort, and why would people continually be offering up certain things like my sigil work that I do, or my book work that I do, or the research that I do, or the research that somebody else over here does, may not be on the same level, but very similar in different ways. I'm asking for something different. I'm asking for a reaction, action, reaction. But I'm not rubbing a lamp here. I'm actually doing scientific work. I'm not pouring out innocent blood to gain something stupid like a lottery ticket. I mean, that's just stupid. Um, so I don't understand the people who do stuff like that. I just don't. But maybe at some point I will, but I just do not at this time. So the other book that I'm really a big fan of is the Grimoire of Honorius, which the actual first known copy was in 1629. But they really have speculated that it was either written or showed up in the 1500s. This book actually being written by a monk, a black monk. So despite all of the iniquities of all of these other books that we've talked about, or if you've ever heard of the, I'm not going to say it in Latin, but pacts with demons or pacts with the devil, the Grand Grimoire fails in comparison to Oranius. However, to invoke upon itself such severe condemnation as the Grimoire of Honorius the Great, otherwise Honorius the Third. So the third, would that be less than great, or Honorius the average, maybe? If you're the third. Just saying. So its scarcity is too much to say that almost every accusation that was preferred against this remarkable book is false generally, and specifically the chief distinction between them being that some are really vague misrepresentations of ignorance, and others the false interpretations of prejudgment by the French occultist Papus, which alone seems to take the middle view, though he speaks with some vagueness when he talks about this, because a lot of the stuff in this book can get you in a whole bunch of trouble. Um, like Papa's saying that the sorcery of this grimoire is more dangerous for weak experimentalists than for the enemies of the sorcerer. Um, Alpheus Levi actually observed that the work was not without importance for the students of occult sciences, but he also thought that at first sight it seemed to be nothing but a basic um, tissue of repulsive absurdities, which basically translated in French is he basically called it used toilet paper book of crud. Which is interesting considering his thoughts on the subject. Um, so, but for those who are initiated in signs and secrets of the Kabbalah, and those, when it said it becomes basically a veritable monument of human perversity. So, going back with Veritas, he thought that there was seldom a statement for which there was less foundation. There was never a magical work which was less connected with Kabbalism, for the relation was insofar as it existed and confined to just a few words which occur in the conjurations, is common to all within all ceremonial magic. And this is the one grimoire which is the most permeated with Christian elements, which is interesting. All of them do have Christian elements in them. That's why I said that you got to go with the Bible first. Otherwise, it's not going to make sense. But, yeah. So, however, when we're talking about this, those who are well acquainted with the principles and interpretations in which you obtain the writings of Levi, I'm not going to say it in French, but that's what it translates to, the guy who laughed at this toilet paper book, will not take charge seriously, which depends upon the significance of Kabbalistic words or signs, because it basically became notorious that with French occultists, and there's a lot of French occultists, they mean many things according to his humor, and that he didn't know his subject or his first subject. But Levi wasn't contented with the general impeachment of being ejected or dejected, you might as well say, from this work alone. But while we're talking about Levi and his work with the Key of Solomon and all of the grimoires, and the work of Honorius, we do have to go to looking like our final break here at 43 after the hour on wbhm-db.com. And this is Tripping the Void with Sarafine Hurley. We'll catch you right back.
listening to WBHM Digital